Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sunday Recap. I'm Scott Marler, and this week I have the most amazing guest ever. Probably one of the most like almost famous people that I've ever had on this podcast. I talk about her more, and I quote her more than probably even the pastor of this church. This is my lovely wife, Heather Marler.
Hello.
So this week, I've been begging Heather since the inception of this podcast to come on and be my guest. And she backs me up whenever we're recruiting other people. And she tells them, oh, Scott does a wonderful job. He helps walk through. And now it's her turn to sit on the hot seat. So I got her in here. And here she is. And we're going to roll through this. And we're going to talk about this, our wonderful, wonderful sermon. We're continuing our walk through this sermon series in Jeremiah. And we'll get to that. But first, let's learn a little bit about Heather and what she does. So, Heather, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your background, your family, your brothers and sisters, your job, your career, and what you do here for Memorial United.
Well, I am born and raised a PK in the Methodist Church.
What's that mean?
Preacher's kid. So I have been around the Methodist Church my entire life. I am married to a Methodist podcast host. Superstar. We have two beautiful children, Lane, who will be 7 in October, and Finley, who is just 12 and in middle school. So we are have been catapulted into the youth ministry. So that's kind of what I do here. I'm United Methodist Women. I also participate with the communications committee, the hospitality committee. I sing in the choir. I'm a junkie for church services, so I go to all three. Like I said, we do the youth. And in my professional career, I'm a marketing person, so I graphic design and marketing, and anywhere that I can help with that. I have lots of other adventures that takes me on. So that's me.
That's awesome. So hobbies outside of church and work. Do you like to fish and hunt, or do you like to get your nails done? Like, what do you do outside of this? Like, give me a glimpse into your personal life.
I feel like you're setting me up.
I know the answers to these questions.
Outside of this, I don't know. I work out on occasion. Sometimes I eat. I train with you for your fights.
She beats me up.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I do a lot of things. I do a lot of other community activities and the whatnot. I sleep. These the thing I do when I'm not here or there. That's it.
So,
am I forgetting something? Okay.
No, it's there's no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
I mean, it is a little bit odd because normally when I ask these questions, I don't already know the answers.
True story.
So I think that it is important to mention our love as a family for like the Current River.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Boating and hunting. She's killed a deer.
Just a little bit bigger than yours. That's all.
She killed a deer that was slightly bigger than mine, and I'm okay with that. So I would say if I had to nail it down, I think that you gave us the essence, oh Heather.
Yeah. Outdoors, it's definitely my Jesus place. So as often as I can be there.
Yep. And very devout. Every morning I get up and I go to work out early in the morning, and she does a devotional. And I'm going to plug you a little bit here. You should follow Heather because every morning she posts a devotional or 2 or 3, right? Sometimes she gets a little bit behind and she has to do a couple ahead, but she comes out. Now, what is that ministry that you've kind of just started?
Well, so I'm kind of along the lines of what you guys were doing. I started reading the Bible this year. That was part of one of the things that we wanted to do. And so at the end of this month, I actually finish the Old Testament and start into the New Testament.
What?
I know. It's crazy.
Like 200 and something days in, and you're just now finishing the Old Testament.
Yes. And it's crazy to look ahead and realize what little is left and how that's the New Testament.
And some pretty powerful stuff is getting ready to happen, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to ruin it for you.
Thanks. I have a little bit of an idea. But yeah, so I do that. And then I'm old school. I like the upper room. So I usually do the upper room devotional every day too. And sometimes when it's really good and I feel like it's something that needs to be shared, I post it. And
you say old school, but I still see them. They're still at the church.
Absolutely.
But my grandma always had them.
Mine too.
My grandma Jean had the upper room, and they were all over her house. And I always think of Eddie Murphy in that movie Life. The upper room. You know what I'm talking about?
For sure.
Probably not. Sometimes we just bust into song, and it's terrible. So Heather also sings in the choir. I think you mentioned that, but I wanted to highlight that. She sings in the choir, and she loves it. Voice of an angel right here, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know.
So did we catch everything? Pet lover. We have. She's got 3 pets, 2 dogs and a cat. Willie Nelson is the cat, and Jackson Winston. And I've tried to get rid of all of them, and she won't let me. So, all right. So you ready to continue this walk in Jeremiah with us?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So if you've been tuning in and paying attention, you will know that we've been going through the book of Jeremiah, and we've been doing a sermon series called Hearing God in Difficult Days. And this sermon series is, especially on the prophet Jeremiah, is a tough series. You know, we jokingly said that 200 and something days in, and you're going to finally get to the Gospels. The Gospels are the part of the Bible that even non-Christians kind of know. They're the famous retelling of the story of Jesus Christ, basically,
Absolutely.
right? And I say that, but also the Old Testament has famous stories in it too. Jonah and the whale, and Noah and the garden of and the Garden of Eden, and
Daniel
creation,
and the
Daniel and the lion's den. There's a lot of these stories. You go, yeah, that's from the Bible. You don't really think of it as being from the Old Testament. Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of Heather's favorites. And so there's all these stories, and you don't really think about it. But Jeremiah is never like, when someone calls and is like, I'm just dealing with some difficult stuff. What should I read? I'm never going to say you should dive into Jeremiah.
Well, if you remember, earlier this year was the first time I had ever sat down and read Jeremiah. And it was because of the reference in one of the studies we were doing. And I sat down that night and was just like, how have I never read this before or even know anything about it?
Yeah, well, because you read it and you go, I think God's going to kill us.
Yeah, it was definitely not too friendly.
I think that God is angry with us.
Mm-hmm.
And but Pastor Beaton is doing a wonderful job of kind of explaining it to me in a way that makes me understand what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the 2 passages from Jeremiah that we read today, and then we'll kind of discuss it. Cool?
Okay.
All right, so we're in Jeremiah. We're going to be in chapter 4. I'm going to start with verse 11 and 12, and then we're going to jump over to 22. Again, Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 11. At that time, it will be said to his people and Jerusalem, a hot wind comes from me out of the bare heights in the desert towards my poor people, not to winnow or cleanse, a wind too strong for that. Now it is I who speak the judgment against them. And then over to 22. For my people are foolish. They do not know me. They are stupid children. They have no understanding. They are skilled in doing evil, but do not know how to do good. I looked down on the earth, and lo, it was a waste and void, and to the heavens, and they had no light. I looked on the mountains, and lo, they were quaking, and all the hills moved to and fro. I looked, and lo, there was no one at all, and all the birds of the air had fled. I looked, and lo, the fruitful land was a desert, and all its cities were laid in ruins, before the Lord, before his fierce anger. For thus says the Lord, the whole land shall be a desolation, yet I will not make a full end. Because of this, the earth shall mourn, and the heavens above grow black. For I have spoken, I have proposed, I have not relented, nor will I turn back.
Again, how did I not know about this?
So let's give it a little bit of context.
Okay.
This is a vision by Jeremiah.
Correct.
And Jeremiah saw this, and God told him, this is what you need to go and tell the people of Jerusalem.
Correct.
Judah, right?
Judah.
With their capital city of Jerusalem. It's a state and a city.
And Jeremiah, they're
little
both in trouble.
So Jeremiah is told by God to go and tell Jerusalem this stuff that I just read. There's not a whole lot in there that makes me want to run and tell. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I said to the youth this morning, if it's a popularity contest, Jeremiah's going to lose.
For sure.
This is not going to be a popular idea. Go tell them that they are stupid children. Are you sure? You want me to say stupid children? Okay.
Well, and these are all his friends and family. I mean, these are the people that he's living amongst. And to know that this destruction is coming is not a fun fact. I know that in your version it doesn't, but above 19, which is inclusive of 22, mine has Jeremiah weeps for his people. He's physically ailing from this knowledge, you know.
So let's talk about this ruach. Did I get it?
Kind of.
Ruach. You got to put the Hebrew on it. So that's, if you want to look it up, R-U-A-C-H. Ruach. And what that means is the wind, the spirit, and the breath. So it's the breath of the Lord, but it encompasses more than just the breath. So, as you know, I'm a glutton for knowledge. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I had researched was about inspired text, or the stuff that gets put into the Bible. And the way that it's referred to, another Greek root word is theopneustos. So theop meaning of or pertaining to God, neustos meaning breath. And that is translated as divinely inspired, the breath of God. Literally, he spoke it into my ear and I wrote it, not as dictation, but he put the idea in my head and I interpreted it and wrote it, right? That's theopneustos. This is different than that. Ruach is the parallel that Pastor Beaton made was to Genesis. Right. And in Genesis 1, God made the heavens and the earth, and they were void and they were shapeless, and there was just a desolate thing. Creation. He used this ruach, this breath, to breathe it into existence. So it's more powerful than that theopneustos. It's just the creation, the spirit of God.
Right.
Right?
For sure.
This is in reverse.
True story.
What Jeremiah saw here was creation in reverse, which is a scary thing, because when I think of Genesis and I think of God making the heavens and the earth, and then he said, let there be light, and there was, and it was good. That is so beautiful.
I think of like a rolling fog.
Yeah.
You know what? That's what I envision, like over a cool water body. It just, like, that's what I think, an opposite of this.
I think of God making this, and it is beautiful, and he is pleased. Mm-hmm. And I think that as a Christian, as a person, we were made to be pleased when God is pleased. So when I think of God creating, and it says, and he saw it and it was good, he was happy with what he had done. Mm-hmm. And that's beautiful. It makes my heart happy. I can see it. I've been there. I've been on top of Quarter Riva Mountain across from the log yard. You know, like we talked about camping on Current River at dawn and saw the fog lifting up off of the river. And it was good, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I think of that in reverse. So it's kind of the yin and the yang.
For sure.
There is the beauty. There is the amazingness that is Ruach. And then it says, listen, a fiery wind will come, and this is not going to be the good wind. I think it says something about separating the wheat from the chaff. Like, it's not going to be a helpful wind.
Right. Not a good one.
This isn't going to be a wind where I create This is going to be a wind where I destroy. So equally, as much as I love to think about creation, this sends that chill down my spine.
Right.
Right? But why? Why is he doing this?
Well, and I will tell you, mine says, because it's a little bit different, a burning wind is blowing from the desert, and it's not a gentle breeze. It's a roaring blast sent by me. And I just immediately think of, the forest fires in California and the Amazon right now, and that's the sort of same panicky desolation that I think of in that same opposite context, like you were saying. But yeah, why is he sending it? Why is he pronouncing?
He's sending this because when people suffer, God suffers too. That's what Pastor Ron said today. He said, look, it's there because the people they are skilled in doing evil, but do not know how to do good. Now, we are parents, and my kids are skilled at arguing. They are not skilled at cleaning.
True.
There's a parallel there. That's what God is saying. He's saying, I look down on this and I see nothing that is good. They're not being kind to the poor. They're not helping one another. They are not showing love. They are not clothing the naked. They are not feeding the hungry. But they are good at making people poor. They are good at putting people down. They are good at everything that they shouldn't be good at.
For sure.
And he's tired of it. It happens a couple times in the Old Testament. Right?
Yes.
Not Jonah. I mean, Jonah disobeyed and got ate by a fish.
Straight up.
But Noah, right?
There's Sodom and Gomorrah. He didn't he didn't wipe the earth, but he definitely destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah with raining hellfire of sulfur. He references that devastation in Jeremiah a lot, but along that same sort of course of frustration and disappointment, for sure.
So what's the assumption? The assumption when you read this is that God is vengeful or angry or judgmental. I think that all those things are true. I think that you can read this and take away from that, but I don't think that that's the point.
I agree.
I think the point is that I think what God was saying to Jeremiah and how it's applicable to us today is that we need to open our eyes.
Well, it's that blissful ignorance, right?
Boom. Man, it's like she knows me.
Yeah, it's that ability to stay focused where you want to stay focused. It's like today when I talked about cleaning my house. I know that my house is dirty. I know that it needs to be clean. But I can also say super duper busy and be able to make tons of excuses why it can't be done or why it shouldn't be done today or right now or in this moment or by me in particular. And I think that that's kind of what the issue is in this time period, is that they are blissfully ignorant to their sin, just to the decisions that they're making.
So I completely agree with that parallel, and I completely agree with that point, except I don't think it's just in that time period.
No, for sure.
I think that if we look at the Bible as a historic document, that's a trap that we fall into. Dadgummit, Judah.
Shame on you.
Jerusalem. Those silly Jerusalem people. Jerusalemites.
Yep.
Right?
Sure.
You take that one to the bank. Those silly people, how could they not have seen what they were doing? But the problem here is the Bible is not a historic document. The Bible is a living document. And you substitute Farmington for Israel. And I'm not going to substitute myself for Jeremiah because I'm no prophet. But you substitute certain words in this, you change a couple words around, and boom, look around. Open your eyes as to what's going on. God is calling us all in this passage right now today to do these things.
Absolutely. A lot of the context of what Jeremiah was having to deal with was in reference to the fact that they were still under the Mosaic covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of where the pains of what God was experiencing came from was that they were still doing what they were supposed to do, but it had no heart behind it. And so they would go and do their sacrifices and go and do their things and not be genuine about it. And I think that that's probably more specifically where we find ourselves in today's day and age. We can be good people, and we can help, and we can post it on Facebook, and we can let people know about all the good deeds that we're doing, but the true genuineness of what we're doing sometimes gets lost.
So, first of all, props on busting out a little covenantal understanding. She knew that would make me happy. I did a whole study about the covenants and the Mosaic covenant. Look at you. Second of all, if you don't see the problems around you, you need to look harder.
For sure.
That was a quote that really stuck out to me today. If you don't see the problems around you, you need to look harder. So with the kids during our 9 o'clock Bible study, our Sunday school,
right,
we talked about this same thing. So what we do is we have in our youth space downstairs, we started a 9 o'clock little Bible Sunday school class for, really anybody that wanted to come down.
Yeah.
But because of our roles as kind of the leaders of the youth, it's kind of a youth thing. But you're welcome to come if you want to. And we go over just kind of so Heather always attends the 8 o'clock service, and she kind of takes notes, and then she goes over that with the kids so that they get kind of a broken down version of it. And the way that I described it, the parallel that jumped into my head, because I am this way, is I have illnesses that I self-diagnose, and I'm always dying of some sort of illness.
True.
Always. Usually, one time we went to the doctor and he told me I had the sniffles, and I was sure I was stage 4 leukemia. I wasn't.
No, he was sniffles.
Praise be to God. Because it was bad.
Man cold.
Here's the thing. I don't like to go to the doctor. And I'm not afraid of needles, obviously. I am not afraid of getting an x-ray, right? I don't have these fears as I did as a child. But what I do have is a fear of knowing. Because I'm old, 33 years old.
Oh.
I could start to get something, terrible right now. But if I don't go, then I don't know. And I'm blissfully unaware. There's that thing, when I worked for the railroad, Steve Rutledge said, you can't unsee things, right? So when you go to a derailment or a crossing incident, you don't want to be looking around because you can't get that stuff out of your mind. I think about the Steve Harvey thing, naked grandma, right? You can't get those things out of your mind. Once you see it, it's done.
Right.
And once you have a diagnosis from a doctor that you have XYZ disease, now you've got to deal with it. But what Pastor Ron said today was, are you brave enough to look around?
I was going to say, because there becomes a responsibility. Once you're aware, there's a song that says, God, what are you going to do about it? And he says, I sent you. There becomes the obligation to step up and do something.
Yeah, that's where the bravery comes in, right? So you're sick. I'm sure that I'm dying of some sort of probably unknown illness.
Probably. It's brand new.
Will just be discovered, but I'm positive that that's what's going on. And then I go to the doctor, and either they tell me you're fine, take an antibiotic and you'll be fine in a couple of days, or they say this is the problem and we've got to fix it. But it takes bravery to do that. And in our own lives, what Pastor Ron was saying today is we've got to look around, and we've got to be brave enough to take a fearless and searching moral inventory and say, is what I am doing the right thing in the eyes of God?
Absolutely. And I think that that's kind of what he touched on there at the end, was just you have to start with you. And it goes back to kind of what they were experiencing in Jeremiah is what you're doing genuine, and is what you're doing enough?
So
right?
one of my favorite quotes, I mean, it's no secret, I do a lot of martial arts. And one of my instructors, his name is Ross, he said to me the other day, the enemy of greatness is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because to me, that embodies it. Why do I go and lift? Because I want to be great. Well, I did. I'm supposed to do reps of 10. I did reps of 8. That's good enough. No, not if you want to be great. And in the walk with Christ, well, I did, I helped out with the youth. So I shouldn't go and do this. No, yes, you should.
You mean help with the podcast?
Yeah, right. All right. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
About today's sermon? Any
Hold
points that you had that you really need to sneak in here?
Stop being willfully ignorant.
Yes. Agreed.
That was what I wrote down at the bottom.
Be brave.
Be brave. It says right living is more than just simply avoiding sin. It requires decision and discipline, and we must develop skills in right living because the way we live is like an advertisement for God.
Wow.
That'll bring people to Christ by the way that we're living, the example that we're putting out there.
It'll bring people too.
People, tons of them.
All right. Well, once again, thank you. I want to thank you so much for volunteering to come on to this podcast today and be a part of our ministry. This ministry is such a joy to me, and I hope that you guys get something out of it out there in internet land, and hope that maybe, just one or two people, if I don't care, we average a lot more views than that, but if it's just one or two people that are watching it, we're going to keep doing it because I believe in this ministry, and it can't happen without somebody sitting in that chair.
For sure.
Right? I'm just a pretty face that I have to have people sit next to me. So if you're watching this and you're interested in being a part of this ministry, please grab a hold of me or Derek or Heather or Drew or Bethany or Pastor Ron. Really anybody that you see around, they'll get a hold of me and they'll let me know that you want to be a part of this ministry. And I would love to have you sit in this chair and talk with me. We do it every Sunday after the 10:30 service, except today. We were a little late today. But let me know if you want to be a part of this ministry, and we'll get you on here. I promise you, it's a lot of fun. So you can check us out. This podcast goes up on Facebook every Wednesday at 7 a.m., and then it goes onto the YouTube page a little bit later. It's always up there by about noon. It's a little bit easier to share off of our YouTube page across platforms. It's tough. If you have somebody that doesn't have Facebook and you're like, hey, this podcast is awesome. This Heather Marler girl was on there and she absolutely just knocked it out of the park and I want to show all of my friends. And your friends don't have Facebook, it's okay. Go to the YouTube page, copy that link and send it to them and they'll be able to just click on it and it'll bring it right up. Go to YouTube if you don't have our page bookmarked or you don't subscribe or follow us, just type in Memorial United Methodist Church or Sunday Recap, and it should be the first or second one. It'll have our logo, which is the M kind of in a gradient of greens and blues. So check us out on YouTube and Facebook. Please like, follow, share, comment, shoot us a comment. Let us know what you think we're doing right, what you think we're doing wrong, ideas. We're all about it. We want to make this ministry something that is fun and exciting for everybody to tune into. Outside of that, we've got a lot going on in the church, and I just want to highlight a couple of things. So we have the Trunk or Treat that's going to be on Halloween from 5:30 to 7:30. Trunks and children will be here at the church, and we do this. It gives the kids a safe environment to hang out and get some safe candy, because apparently candy isn't safe anymore. Like when I was a kid, you had to go get it x-rayed and stuff and whatever. Come here. It'll be fun. So that's on Halloween. I love seeing all the kids all dressed up, and I'm sure we'll have a trunk, and we give them maybe hand out some literature about the Bible or something like that along those lines and make it real worth their...
And a toothbrush.
And a toothbrush.
Yeah, every kid that comes gets a toothbrush.
I didn't know that.
So they're going to be so excited.
I wish you all could have seen Derek's sign language for toothbrush. I was really confused. So come and check us out. There's a line around the block. It was raining last year, and there was still a line around the block. Now, did they move it last year? They moved it inside.
Normally, it's
outside.
Normally
outside, right?
Yes.
So normally we have that big parking lot right off of Karsh. Bring your kids. Free. We're not going to ask you for anything. Yes. Just show up and let the kids have a little bit of fun. They probably have some games and stuff, I'm sure.
I think we're collecting cans.
Yeah.
I think the United Methodist Men are collecting cans for the food pantry that month. So if you have cans and you want to bring them, that would be a great opportunity.
Like I said, we are not going to ask you for anything. The United Methodist Men, they will. They're going to hit you up. Now, that is like a big event that's going to happen. Outside of that event, every single week, this church prepares a free meal at Mom's Cafe. It is in the fellowship hall, which is, you can't miss it. There'll be a big sign outside that says free meal, and you should check it out.
It's on Thursdays.
Thursdays at 5 o'clock, and it is delicious. I'm telling you, I've talked about it every podcast that I've done since I started this, and I'm going to continue talking about it because it is awesome. I get really hungry on Thursdays, and I show up, and I leave not so hungry. So you should definitely check out Mom's. It's free. Just come in and eat. Look, it doesn't have to be about I don't have money to buy food. It has to be about I'm lazy and I don't want to make dinner. Come in and feed your family for free on Thursday nights. Just take a load off and eat, man. Sometimes on Thursdays, a lifesaver. I don't have to do anything. Just bring the kids down and let them eat. So come and check us out at Mom's Cafe. That's a wonderful ministry. And not oddly enough, but conveniently enough, this podcast gets played there. So you should check it out if for no other reason than to watch this podcast. And then on Wednesday nights, I always plug the youth group too. If you are a youth, you know a youth, you know someone that might be interested in joining our youth group, Wednesdays at 6:30, we meet in the small dining room, which is also right there in the fellowship hall. If you make it to the fellowship hall, we will find you. We always we have a member of the congregation that makes dinner for us every single week, and they rotate. Last week we had gumbo, and it was delicious. So we will definitely have food. And then after that, we go downstairs and we do a little worship. We sing and we have more food. There's ice cream and candy and chips and all that stuff that is incredibly unhealthy for the children. And we pack them full of it and send them home at 8:30 at night. So you should send your kids to us, and we will send them home loaded up on sugar and Jesus.
I bought oranges too.
Yeah, there are oranges, and we also have yogurt. We've had the oranges and yogurt for a long time, and the candy does not last. But you should check that out, okay? Send your youth, please. It's so much fun, and we just love it. It's a part of the ministry of this church. Don't forget, Memorial United Methodist Church, where we love God, grow faith, and serve others, and we do that especially on Sundays, but we do it all through the week too. Come and check us out. So that's Wednesdays, Thursdays. It's a busy church, man. Stop by. Now, the main attraction, the big show, is on Sundays. 8, 9, 10:30. 8 o'clock is gospel. 9 o'clock is contemporary. 10:30 is traditional. 8 o'clock, that gospel service is awesome. Alan Berry rocks it out. Mm-hmm. The brothers come in and sing sometimes, the Berry brothers. And there's no choir, but man, they get to rocking that old gospel music. And then 9 o'clock happens. That's down in the fellowship hall. Sanford goes as the worship leader down there. They play that top 100 contemporary Christian songs, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like it's that stuff you're going to hear on the radio, and they put on an excellent, like, it's like kind of like a concert atmosphere. Now, Pastor Ron's going to be down there preaching. So you're not just coming to hear music. He's going to preach, but they get you up and singing and praising God, and the Holy Spirit's down there every Sunday. I'm telling you. Now, 10:30, come back up here to the main sanctuary. And we have the traditional service. The traditional service is your Methodist service. The chancel choir's up there, and Pastor Ron's wearing his robe, and the organ's going to be blasting, and there's no wrong answer, people. Come to one of those services. Check us out. You get here, in between those times, you don't know where to go, grab somebody. They'll tell you. You can always find somebody by the donut table.
True story.
Me.
Usually Scott.
Yeah. Like I said, come and check us out. We would love to have you as a part of our church family here at Memorial United Methodist Church. As for now, that's everything I got. You got anything else I need to hit?
I don't think so.
All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.